When someone breaks your heart, something ancient, raw, and terrifying awakens inside you. It isn't logic, and it certainly isn't reason. It is something deeply primal, a small, trembling part of the human soul that fiercely believes balance can only be restored through shared suffering. In the immediate aftermath of a betrayal, your brain enters a state of psychological survival. The trauma replays in your mind like a film you are forced to watch on a loop. You obsess over the look in their eyes when they lied, the suffocating silence that followed when they walked away, and the staggering weight of realizing you gave everything to someone who dismissed it like it meant absolutely nothing. You try to look forward, but the mind acts like an anchor, dragging you backward, whispering that they have to feel the exact depth of the agony they caused you. This whisper is incredibly dangerous because it acts as the gateway to a destructive psychological cycle. If you don't catch it early, that quiet whisper quickly hardens into anger. If left unchecked, that anger mutters itself into an obsession. You begin spending hours constructing vivid internal fantasies of what it would look like to make them regret their choices, to see them completely broken, to watch them crawl back to your doorstep, and to forcibly reclaim the emotional power you feel you foolishly gave away. For a brief, intoxicating moment, that fantasy feels incredibly good. It feels entirely justified. But that comfort is the ultimate illusion. That is the exact trap where the average person falls. It is the false belief that external vengeance equals internal strength, when in reality it is simply a reflection of how deeply controlled you still are by their actions. We need to look directly at what revenge actually does to a man's psyche. Revenge does not free you from the ghost of your past. It binds you to it. It locks you into a psychological contract with the person who mistreated you, tying your emotional state directly to the exact energy that damaged you in the first place. When you set out to plot revenge, or even when you spend your days hoping for their downfall, you are actively giving them a seat of honor at the table of your mind. They still occupy your thoughts, they still dictate your mood, and they still control how you interact with the world around you. Every single ounce of energy, focus, and time you waste trying to devise a way to hurt them is valuable resources stolen directly from your own personal evolution. You might convince yourself that executing a cold payback scheme will make you powerful, but the mechanics of human behavior prove the exact opposite. Revenge keeps you entirely reactive. A reactive man is never truly free because his actions are always dependent on what someone else did first. If a single text message, a social media post, or a rumor can completely alter your emotional trajectory for the day, you are not a king of your domain. You are a subject to their whims. This is why the Stoic philosophers' historical figures, like Seneca and Epictetus, never wasted their breath chasing vengeance. They outgrew the very concept. They recognized that revenge is an external, desperate attempt to fix a broken ego, whereas real power is internal. True strength belongs solely to the man who learns to stand completely still in the middle of his pain, look it in the eye, and transmute that raw agony into unbreakable wisdom. The great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote a single line in his personal journals that completely redefines how we should view betrayal. He wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." At first glance, that advice sounds almost too simple, maybe even passive. But when you unpack it, you realize it is one of the most aggressive statements on personal warfare ever written. It means choosing absolute internal mastery over external chaos. It means refusing to allow their lack of integrity, their dishonesty, or their disloyalty to dictate or redefine how you behave as a man. It means staying completely calm, anchored, and composed in a chaotic world that is actively trying to provoke you into becoming bitter, loud, and small-minded. Let's be direct about what real, devastating vengeance looks like in the modern world. Real vengeance isn't a dramatic confrontation or a vicious text exchange. It is living in profound, unshakable peace while they quietly destroy themselves with the exact same toxic habits and flawed character traits that cost them your presence in the first place. It is smiling in absolute silence while they slowly realize they can no longer reach you, trigger you, or pull you back into their orbit. It is walking away from the entire situation cleanly, without making a single announcement, without posting cryptic updates online, and without seeking validation from mutual friends. You simply disappear from their life, letting your total absence whisper the definitive message you will never have to waste your breath saying out loud. Because to a toxic ego, a man's cold silence is infinitely more terrifying than his anger. If you are enjoying this deep dive into self-mastery, take a brief moment right now to internalize this truth, and let's set a firm boundary for the rest of this journey. Drop a comment below right now that reads, "My peace is my revenge." Write it out to remind yourself that your peace isn't a passive surrender. It is victory in its purest, most dominant form. When you truly grasp this philosophy, you completely stop needing payback. You stop checking up on them, you stop looking for signs of their regret, and you stop caring if they understand your side of the story. You stop needing to prove that they lost something immensely valuable, because deep down, you know they already feel the weight of that loss every time they look at the empty space you left behind. Think about the psychological mechanics of what happens when you cut contact completely. A toxic or small-minded person expects you to lash out. They expect the tears, the angry phone calls, and the desperate demands for an explanation because it feeds their ego and validates their power over you. But when they receive absolutely nothing, no emotion, no retaliation, no acknowledgement of their existence, they are forced to sit alone with their own noise. Your restraint acts as a giant mirror for their guilt. Every time you resist the temptation to react, you starve their ego of the validation it craves. They took your heart and it hurt, but they cannot touch your discipline unless you hand it over. They cannot touch your composure, and they certainly cannot stop the man you are currently becoming in the dark. While revenge merely feeds the temporary fire of chaos, absolute self-control builds the permanent foundation of a king. When the dust settles after a major heartbreak, what actually burns deep inside your chest isn't pure hatred, it's intense confusion. It is that volatile emotional space trapped between love and anger, between a desperate desire to heal and an equally intense urge to make them feel the exact sting they inflicted on you. But if you look closer, you'll realize it isn't actually revenge you crave, it's recognition. You just want them to acknowledge what they did. You want them to look at you and truly comprehend the depth of the care, trust, and loyalty they dismissed. But this need for them to understand is the very chain that keeps you locked in their basement. You are trying to find closure in the mind of the exact person who caused the wound, which is a losing game. You are asking for peace from someone whose ego profits entirely from your inner chaos. This is the turning point where the average man separates from the Stoic man. The average man reacts immediately to this inner discomfort. He lashes out, he posts something impulsive online, he texts something he'll regret, or he rushes into a meaningless distraction to seek cheap validation. He throws his energy outward because he can't handle the heat inside. The Stoic man does the exact opposite. He pauses, he sits with the fire, and he studies it. He understands that the intense emotional flame burning in his chest isn't the enemy, it's a master teacher. Fire only destroys when it is wild and uncontrolled, but when it is contained and channeled with intent, it forges raw iron into surgical steel. It purifies, it shapes, and it hardens. Do not run from your emotions or try to drown them in vices. Sit with the ache, feel the emptiness, and let that energy carve a relentless, unshakable discipline into your soul. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote another foundational truth: what stands in the way becomes the way. This means the pain you are experiencing right now is not a cosmic punishment. It is a profound initiation. It is a mandatory test designed to transition you into a much deeper, more formidable form of internal strength. You are being forced to confront the hidden parts of yourself that perhaps loved too blindly, chased too hard, or trusted far too quickly without seeing proof of character. You are being asked by life to build high, sturdy boundaries where you once built naive expectations. Stop asking the victim's question, "Why did this happen to me?" Shift your vocabulary to the student's question. What is this experience trying to teach me? That simple change rewrites your entire narrative from a broken victim to a reborn strategist. To lock this mindset into your daily reality, drop a comment below right now. I'm mastering my fire. By stating this, you commit to turning emotional chaos into productive momentum. Heartbreak provides an incredible amount of raw energy. It keeps you awake at night and gives you a restless adrenaline. Most people let that energy destroy them, but a disciplined man systemizes it. You give every single painful emotion a specific job to do. When your chest hurts at 5 a.m., you don't stay in bed staring at a screen. You make that pain run with you on the asphalt. When anger surges up during the day, you don't waste it on a text. You make it lift heavy weights with you in the gym. If a wave of loneliness hits you in the evening, you force it to sit down and study a new skill or build a business project with you. You take the immense intensity that you once poured into loving someone else, and you aim it entirely at building yourself brick by brick. As you consistently stack these daily disciplines, a subtle but incredibly powerful shift occurs. Your focus naturally stops reaching outward toward them and returns entirely to your own life. This is the official birth of true detachment. Detachment isn't about becoming a cold, unfeeling robot. It is the quiet, mature understanding that you no longer require anything from your past to move forward. You don't need their closure, you don't need their apology, and you certainly don't need their validation. You start to realize that you don't need to hurt them to win this situation. You just need to completely stop caring about their opinion. The Stoic doesn't make a scene, he doesn't shout insults, and he doesn't slam the door. He simply steps out of the room quietly and never, ever looks back. This level of divine indifference is the ultimate psychological victory because it completely subverts the expectations of those who wronged you. Your quiet, unbothered absence becomes a permanent question mark in their mind. They will spend months, sometimes years, replaying the story in their own heads, wondering why you never broke, why you never retaliated, and why you simply disappeared without a trace. And the only answer they will ever receive is the absolute heavy silence you left behind. When people from your past eventually try to test your boundaries or bait you into old drama, your internal response becomes a simple, immediate no. You protect your mental energy like sacred ground. If you have reached this powerful stage where composure is your permanent armor, leave a comment below. My detachment is my revenge. At the final destination of this journey, the silence that once felt like a brutal punishment transforms into your greatest sanctuary. The heartbreak that felt like it was going to break you completely reveals itself to be the very foundation of your permanent calm. You didn't get even with those who hurt you, you got infinitely better. You didn't waste your life trying to destroy them. You invested your energy into completely rebuilding yourself with profound intention. You begin to see clearly that you didn't actually lose anyone valuable along the way. You simply lost your illusions. You weren't rejected by the world. You were aggressively redirected by your own potential. The highest, most dominant version of you was always waiting beneath the surface. It just required the heavy weight of this trial to burn away the weak, dependent parts of your old identity. Moving forward, carry this hard-earned stillness into every single room you walk into. Speak less. Mean infinitely more. Move with absolute purpose and think deeply before you react to anything. Let the unbothered rhythm of your daily actions whisper the immense strength that your words no longer need to defend. You are no longer a minor character reacting to someone else's messy narrative. You have officially become the sole author of your own destiny. If this message connected with the fire in your chest, do 3 things right now to lock in this brotherhood. Hit the like button, subscribe to Stoic Blessing so you never miss an execution strategy, and leave your definitive mark in the comments below. I am a Stoic soldier. Stand tall, guard your peace, and keep building. Your evolution is non-negotiable.